Thank you, everyone. Thank y'all. I want to first take you back to 1988 because as I stand before you today, proud father, a beautiful 6-year-old girl, very intelligent. Hello, Shyia. And a 2008 alumni of Hamline University, and talk to you about From the Hood to the Woods and what's next. I feel that it's only right that I share with you what sometimes can be what's before for some of our students in our local hood, as well as hoods across the Twin Cities and state. 1988, a time that I'd rather not remember so vividly because it was a time in which my mother chose a life of drugs and alcohol. And I love my mother dearly, but I can remember that morning waking up on our apartment floor next to my younger brother and realizing Mama wasn't there. I can remember watching Woody the Woodpecker or some show like that for the third time, and also noticing that on our kitchen counter there's only a few cans of carrots left. So I decided to call my grandmother, and Grandma, being the amazing, wonderful woman that she is, I said, "Grandma, I think our mom's been gone. Should I call child protection?" My grandmother's response was, "I'll be right there to get you guys." From that moment of abandonment and a long time thereafter, I had sort of emptiness inside. I wasn't quite sure if I'd ever amount to be anything more than the mediocrity that I saw around me. Flash forward a few years to the first day of kindergarten, and although I was very excited on the outside, I had this curiosity on the inside as to why most of my peers had two parents, mom and dad, and there I was just with my grandmother. After a great first day of kindergarten, I remember getting home, sitting on the couch next to my grandmother, and I asked her, I said, "Where's my dad?" She put her arm around me and she said, "Rashad, your dad was shot and killed in an alley back when you were 3. Already kind of felt worthless, maybe a little hopeless. Now I wasn't quite sure who I was or what came before me that I had to look forward to. Oftentimes, I'll get the question of, how'd you make it through that stuff? What were the key things that got you through that struggle? And for a while, I didn't quite have an answer that I was comfortable with sharing. Obviously, I had my grandmother, teachers, family, community members who were paramount in my growth as a kid. But the one activity that stood out in my mind that kind of gave me the skills that I needed to persist and hopefully get to some sort of success was camping. From the Hood to the Woods is designed to sort of get at the skills and build people up, right? You think to my childhood, that's a lot of stuff to unpack as a kid, but there's a lot of things that stay with you that may keep you from thinking that you have the skills or that you can persist through life. When you think about skills and you think about what's next in Minnesota in general, we have the largest demand for skilled workers. Yet, we lack to meet that. We fail to meet that demand. You see at the bottom there that there's nearly 2 million working-aged adults who lack a credential beyond a high school diploma. Now, you can Google and find a lot of articles and different opinions on that, but my opinion is that those 2 million lack a confidence and a belief in self, right? And before they can get to the skills that are going to help any corporation or organization, they must first find themselves, know who they are, know what their skills are, to be able to share them with others. From the Hood to the Woods is designed to take students who have never experienced that wilderness and get them out in the woods and sort of build them up as human beings. We focus on a lot of different things, but mostly leadership. And when you think about leadership and think about teams and things like that, we first try to make them leaders of themselves, right? As a young kid, I would be called a leader, but I wasn't quite sure why. I wasn't quite sure what my skills were, my abilities were, that others were calling me leaders. But as you get out into the woods and you have that first fire that you light to make dinner, or using that compass for the first time to sort of navigate your way to get to where you're going back, right? Those things like that, the teamwork that it takes to, say, complete a 9-mile hike without anyone getting injured and your president telling you you're fired when you get back. Confidence, strength finding, personal connections, high expectations, those are all things that From the Hood to the Woods, those are goals, our aim, right? That we try to give students that experience. But not only is that our goal, it's also what students say they need, right? At the bottom here, you'll see the community college survey of student engagement findings. It's what students say they need, right? And when I first thought about From the Hood to the Woods and kind of putting this together for students, I had to trace back to think about how I felt growing up. Now, my struggle isn't everybody else's struggle, but I'm quite sure that everyone sitting here, you've been through some sort of struggle, right? So as I traced back and kind of created this, I thought about what activities when camping sort of boosted me up and allowed me to sort of grow and accomplish the things that I've accomplished to this day. Now, that's my design, my model, but I always like to throw in a little research. I'm not really a data guy, but this information here on the benefits of camping from the American Camping Association just kind of supports the work that I'm trying to do with From the Hood to the Woods. So as you can see there, a sense of industry and competency, feeling of connectedness to others in society. But that bottom bullet point is, in my eyes, sort of, the staple of From the Hood to the Woods. Building that stable identity, understanding who you are, what your gifts are, and helping students walk in that, right? So a lot of things that go into a camping experience. This past summer, we took some students up to the Boundary Waters, and anybody who goes camping, that's not your pitch a tent in the backyard camping experience, all right? There was the highlight of the trip was a 9-mile hike that we took on the Caribou Rock Trail, and there were 7 students with us, myself and one of my partners here as another chaperone. But the teamwork that it took to complete that 9-mile hike with a group of students who had never been in the woods before was great. Right? To see them communicating with each other, assigning roles based on people's strengths and weaknesses, and to sort of see them sort of take over the trip. Now, From the Hood to the Woods, there's not a lot of, corny activities that we do, right? It's sort of you find yourself through these activities that we do, such as starting a fire, hiking, putting up a tent, things like that, right? So you sort of find yourself in this, and to see these 7 students who hadn't spent too much time together previous to this trip come together as if they had spent years together and knew each other's strengths and weaknesses to make this trip a success, for me, was probably the best thing about the trip. Now, you've heard from me on the design. You see the benefits according to the American Camping Association, but I think it's very powerful to hear from students. So this picture right here, you see most everybody smiling. This is probably the last time you'll see them smiling before we went on this hike. I'm not smiling too much because I was carrying about 75-pound backpack, so my smile is already gone. But this student here said, "This has taught me about figuring out everyone's strengths and weaknesses, working together and making everything as efficient as possible. Working together as a team is something you can use everywhere." Another student said, "I learned a lot about myself by completing the 9-mile hike. I can do almost anything. I didn't give up." And this student here, in this picture right here, when we set this picture up, I didn't always use it for TED Talk at all, but we're sitting there and there was a time to reflect, right? And at this point, it was kind of our chill point of the day. The hike was over. We're overlooking West Bearskin Lake there. But to think that during their reflections, students made comments like this, to me was very powerful and something that there weren't any prompts. We didn't have any reflection questions. It was just kind of think for yourself. This student here said, "One thing about this trip, it has taught me to accept my challenges. If you have hopes and dreams, you can make them real. Climbing and hiking has taught me to accept my challenges. Facing them head on can help you accomplish your dreams." Again, there were no prompts. It was just basically go and reflect and share with us how this has impacted you. In closing, I want to, anybody know how to call a moose? Just kidding. I'm not going to teach you how to call a moose, but I do want to leave you with some words from the great Dr. Benjamin Carson. And for those of you who don't know, he's the first surgeon to successfully separate conjoined twins at the head. And Dr. Carson says, for every one of those people that we keep from going down that path of self-destruction and mediocrity, that's one less person you have to protect yourself and your family from. One less person you have to pay for in the penal or welfare system. One more tax-paying, productive member of society who may invent a new energy source or come up with the cure for cancer. They're all important to us, and we need every single one of them. It makes a difference. I'm Rashad Turner. That's From the Hood to the Woods. That's what's next. Thank you.